Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me, Dorothea, on Through an Orthodox Christian Lens. It is an early evening here of July 4th, 2025. So we've already heard firecrackers yesterday, and we've heard them sporadically today, and tonight I'm sure is going to be the big deal. So happy 4th to all my American fellow Americans that observe this holiday of our country. I'm going to be talking about some interesting things about AI and about transhumanism today because of obvious reasons. It's been floating around the internet and actually for several years, but it's been talked about more and more the past maybe 5 to 10 years. In any case, I'm going to start with the last portion of the video with from Dialogue Works with Nima and Alex Craner, because this is what I'm going to be discussing in that particular video. So we're going to go there, and we're going to listen to this little portion here.
Alex, we talk about IAEA and Palantir being part of those projects that they had in Iran. And here is the head of Palantir, Peter Thiel, talking about how he sees the future of humanity. Here is what it's somehow scary when you see the way that they're pictured in the future.
How human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in this.
Should the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also would I also would like us to radically solve these problems.
Right.
And so it's always, I don't know, transhumanism is this, the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. And there's a critique of, let's say, the trans people in a sexual context, or transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross dresses. And a transsexual is someone where you change your, penis into a vagina. And we can then debate how well those surgeries work. But we want more transformation than that. The critique is not that it's weird and unnatural. It's so pathetically little. And we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body. And then Orthodox Christianity, by the way, the critique Orthodox Christianity has of this is these things don't go far enough. Like that transhumanism is just changing your body, but you also need to transform your soul, and you need to transform your whole self. And so,
right. But the other,
where,
wait. Sorry.
I'm going to have to pause there for a minute. You see how he's using Orthodox Christianity as an example of his transhumanism, subhuman AI cyborg version, and saying, well, see, the Orthodox Christianity is all about the whole being, which is true, where soul and body and spirit, all of them work in together. God created us with a soul and a body. They were only separated when sin entered the world and death, so that when we repose and die in this life, that's when our soul is separated from our body. But it wasn't supposed to be like that initially in the garden. So that's a point that's important. That came along only after sin and death entered through Adam and Eve's disobedience and pride, the sins. I just wanted to point that out. But he's using this as his example, which I found kind of shocking and upsetting, but let me continue. Sorry.
I generally agree with your.
Alex, do you get what this guy is talking about? It's transforming the mind. It's hard. If it's all about the heart, and it's something mechanical, and but the mind of people, the brain is everything. And how is that going to be the same guy that he was before?
I don't know what he's talking about, It shouldn't be too controversial to say that we need certain transformations, because, I came to the conclusion that we will not be able to solve certain deep problems that are afflicting humanity at the moment without a spiritual renewal about it.
Wow. Okay. I would just say, Alex, he's well aware of this. Obviously, I was very pleased to hear this. Yes, a spiritual renewal, which will come after World War III. As it said, Metropolitan Theophilus has said that Christ will intervene and give us all a slap, basically. Try to wake us up from our sin, disillusional, sinful state that we're in, that we're floating around in this murky water of humanity right now. So, very important that he said, yes, spiritual renewal. And I'll get more into that later, I think. But I'm going to finish up this part here.
Not even an awakening, but more than that, like a spiritual renewal that you need to establish new norms and mores in society so that certain types of abuse, certain types of like usury, for example, usury in all major religious tradition is proscribed, yet somehow we have come to accept it. It's become a new normal. It's like a normal thing. Nobody even asks the question. So we need to go back to that, and that, you can have legal barriers to that, but when somebody's incentivized, they'll always find loopholes, or they will create loopholes. And so you will, when somebody begins to abuse the system, they're also gaining an advantage, and they're making themselves more powerful than those people who abide by the rules. So you start getting an imbalance, which is basically what has happened to us over the last few centuries. And then they start forming the society and its legal code and its mores and its norms around protecting and defending their privileges and their advantages. And so law is not enough. There has to be also a spiritual aspect and deeply rooted in our consciousness. So in that sense, I agree. But if Peter Thiel is talking about carving up human bodies surgically and inserting chips that they will power with their AI and all this, I think there he reminds me of Icarus, who went flying too close to the sun, and at some point, the sun melts the wax in his feathers, in his wings, and then he comes crashing to the ground and he dies. And I think these techie guys are getting ahead of themselves.
He talks about the spiritual renewal. He talks about having that spiritual consciousness. And I agree. He brings up Icarus. I hadn't heard that name in so many years, but I remember that mythological story, the Greek mythology. Oops, he's coming back on. Hold on. All right. Icarus, the Greek mythology story that he just talked about. He made wings, feathers, wings, so he could fly because he wanted to fly. even though as man you can't really fly, but he was trying to do something that really couldn't be done in this manner. And then in that case, apparently he got so high he flew too close to the sun, and he ended up basically incinerated, burned, and, fell to the ground and died. And then, that could be a type of pride as well. So yeah, he's saying that these people who are trying to do these things are, it's not a good thing. So I wanted to share that portion with you. And we're going to say, who is Peter Thiel? Peter Thiel was raised in an evangelical Christian household, but describes his religious views as somewhat heterodox. He has engaged deeply with Christian eschatology, particularly themes related to the Antichrist and the Catechon, a mysterious restraining force mentioned in the second letter to the Thessalonians. This theological interest has influenced his worldwide and public discussions, especially in private lectures at institutions like Oxford and Harvard, where he explored apocalyptic themes modeled after sermons by John Henry Newman. Thiel has delivered talks on the Antichrist and has drawn connections between modern existential risks and religious concepts of the end times. He has also referenced thinkers like Carl Schmitt and Eric Voegelin, indicating a complex and unconventional engagement with religious and philosophical ideas. Despite his theological interests, Thiel does not align strictly with any mainstream religious tradition and appears to blend libertarian ideology with apocalyptic Christian thought. So again, he's adopted strange doctrines. Here we go again about the dangers of these weird doctrines, like even in St. Paul, or is it St. Peter talks about the strange doctrines that you don't want to get involved in. Then he meshes it up the way he wants to do it, which again makes him his own God. And he comes up with this, and now he has these nefarious ideas of what he wants to do to the human body, the brain, the heart, the whole thing, the whole body. So this is important because Metropolitan Theophilus had talked about this as well. I'm going to share a portion of that for you, where he gets into a bit of this stuff. I'm going to read it to you because, of course, it's in Greek. I'm going to share this portion for this. Let me turn it down a bit. Okay. He says, Saint Iakovos, for example, one time he went to venerate the relics of Saint John the Russian, which is in Evia. He saw the saint alive. The two saints, St. Iakovos and St. John the Russian, were talking. At first, since St. John is a pilgrimage, just like St. Cyprianos is a pilgrimage to you. St. Iakovos said to St. John as a compliment, "So many pilgrims arrived to see you, my St. John. You must be really happy." St. John Russian replied, "The pilgrims are many, Father Iakovos, but the faithful are only a few. The world is full of impiety, immorality, and unfaithfulness. For this world to be fixed, there must be a war." St. Iakovos was upset when he heard these words because he was a refugee from Asia Minor. He had experienced war ever since his childhood, like few have. "No more war," he tells St. John. "No more war. It's a lifetime of warfare. In 1922, the Asia Minor disaster, the Turks sent us away from our homes. Then the Second World War, then the Civil War in Greece, communists against right wings. They were killing each other. Then we had so many disasters in Cyprus, Russia, the whole world. Why war again?" St. John said, "There has to be a war. There has to be a war. There has to be a war. There is no other way to fix humanity." Saint Jacobus was telling me this later. I was a university student back then, and I asked him, "Why do you think, Elder, St. John the Russian insists on the fact that there will be a great war?" He told me, "God revealed to me that the next generation of people will not give birth to normal children, but devil children." This is what he told me, and he gave me no other interpretation. Now think of the people of the New Order who say that the next children will be a mixture of artificial intelligence. That is like robots and half humans. And they advertise this. It is going to be the so-called meta-human. Remember, this is from 2023 speaking, early February, March or February. They want to repair the recreation of the true and God. The rest of the saints I mentioned earlier, they all say the same thing. If God does not intervene, the following generations will not be an image of God. They will be a species of man with a deceased soul, meaning they won't be able to become holy. A society, humanity, that will not give birth to holy people has no point in living. Now, in order to complete the spiritual causes of the war, not just in Ukraine, but of the whole system that is coming, that we are experiencing, what has distorted the humankind so much in spiritual terms? It's not just technology, the artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, the microchips. It is our sin as well, especially 3 of them. The first sin, which is very widespread, is the whole planet. In the whole planet is abortions. Not only because they take place, but also because they are legalized by the governments, the MPs, the states, even the Orthodox ones. When sin becomes law of the state and a right, God resents man. He resents man because man has no longer a disposition to repent. God is not afraid of our sin. He is afraid of the man who justifies sin, turns it into law, and does not want to repent at all. The second sin, as Elder Ephraim of Arizona and Yerendissa Galactica said, is the unnatural sexual acts that take place inside as much as outside marriage, the unnatural sexual sins. If you consider that in our days, all these people have made homosexuality, pedophilia into law. They are even going to legalize bestiality. They abolished the distinction God-man and man and woman. They say that there are 60 genders. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 64, they say. Gosh. They make these things into law, and they are proud about it and make parades. The third is witchcraft, Satanism, the worship of Satan, astrology, paraphysics, parapsychology, meditations, guru, yoga. Everyone who teaches these things is a priest of Satan. Oof. Modern people prefer the energies of sorcerers, Satanists, Masons, all these people who prefer devil instead of God, of Christ.
ανθρώπων οι οποίοι προτιμούν τον διάβολο παρά τον Χριστό.
A fourth cause, in my humble view, the fact that most modern ecclesiastical leaders, wherever they exist,
Περισσότεροι σημερινοί εκκλησιαστικοί ηγέτες, όπου υπάρχουν αυτοί. Και υπάρχουν, δόξα τω
and thank God they exist all over the world, do not speak. Oops, that went way too fast.
στον λαό. Περισσότεροι σημερινοί εκκλησιαστικοί
Let's see if I can bring that up again.
και υπάρχουν, δόξα τω Θεώ.
And thank God they exist all over the world, do not speak about these things. They do not teach people on these things. There is a tolerance, a silence, or a reduced reaction. Yes, that's what I felt like during
Ανοχή, μια σιωπή,
the sickness.
μειωμένη αντίδραση.
They do not teach people on these things. There is no tolerance. Thus, she realized that when the shepherds do not lead the ship rightly, meaning the faithful people,
Τα πρόβατα σωστά, τους ανθρώπους, τους πιστούς, θα επέμβουν
then first the saints and afterwards God Himself will intervene. As regard the Ukrainian issue, if we want to limit ourselves to Ukraine, one who knows well what this war hides,
Αν ένας που ξέρει καλά τι κρύβει αυτός ο επόλεμος, είναι ένας πόλεμος όπου
it's a war where the people of the New World Order want to weaken the resistance against all these evils we mentioned.
θέλουν να αποδυναμώσουν την αντίσταση απέναντι σε όλα αυτά τα κακά που είπαμε. Τις μεθόδους.
Do not be a resistance. And who is it that can resist? Only the Orthodox people. Only the Orthodox, he says.
Μόνο οι Ορθόδοξοι. Οπότε
So in Ukraine, there were all the conditions we described earlier, both the secret and the obvious ones, both the spiritual and the worldly.
και οι πνευματικές και οι υγιεινές. Εγώ χαρακτηρίζω
I characterize the current president of Ukraine, Zelensky, a Khazar.
το σημερινό
Or Khazar?
της Ουκρανίας, τον Ζελένσκι, έτσι δεν λέγεται.
I have to look that up and read about that.
Πολύ λίγοι
For few people, especially among the Westerners and the Greeks, understood what Khazar means.
σημαίνει χάζαρος. Δεν τον είπα Ουκρανό,
I did not describe him as a Ukrainian, as a Russian, as a Jew, right? No, Khazar.
τον είπα Εβραίο, όχι.
We will find out what that is.
Η νέα τάξη
The New World Order of Bill Gates, Soros, Rockefellers, and Rothschilds fears
Ροκφέλλερ και τον Ρότσιλ φοβούνται πολύ τους ανθρώπους.
a lot of the people who know history and the people who have Orthodox faith and holiness.
Τους ανθρώπους που έχουν ορθόδοξη πίστη και αγιότητα. Και ορθόδοξη αγιότητα, βέβαια,
You also had in Ukraine a prophet who prepared you for all this, Starets Ionas. He's talking about Jonah, the one that I had read, several videos back. Everything that happens has been prophesied by him, yes. They want to divide Orthodoxy and afterwards weaken her, yes.
την αποδυναμώσουν. Θέλουν να αποδυναμώσουν,
They want to weaken man, for him not to be able to become holy, not to be able to be an image of God,
να μην είναι εικόνα του Θεού. Να παλαβώσουν
to make people crazy, for the people to be acceptive of their magic, technological and medical and energies.
και τεχνολογικών και ιατρικών σε εισαγωγικά ενεργειών. Δεν είναι μόνο
The problem is not just the Ukrainian issue.
το σύγχρονο πρόβλημα. Παράλληλα με το Ουκρανικό.
Next to the Ukrainian, it's not incidental that the problem with the Veds was developed, which we described earlier. We are going to have problems with artificial earthquakes, fires in a way that the natural environment could be destroyed. Artificial earthquakes. That is the paradise that God created for man on earth. The fish of the sea to be destroyed. I was reading today the small Cyprus has butcheries that sell artificial meat.
αποκτήσει κρεοπολία που θα πουλάνε τεχνητό κρέας. Μου ερωτήσατε στην αρχή.
You asked me at the beginning about my energy. A young child, you, for example, do you have kids?
Παιδί, εσύ μη σου βλέπω, είσαι νέος άνθρωπος, μπορεί να έχεις παιδιά. Έχεις παιδιά.
Nope. I wish that you will have them. Thank you. A goal that the people of the New Order pursue is for fertile men and fertile women not to exist.
είναι να μην υπάρχουν γόνιμοι άντρες και γόνιμες γυναίκες. Θέλουν να μειώσουν
They want to reduce the human population.
τον ανθρώπινο πληθυσμό ή δυνατόν να φτάσει στα 500
If possible, to constrain the human population to reach 500 million so it can
για να είναι ελεγχόμενο.
be under control.
Να κάνουν τα κομπιούτερ. Ναι. Έτσι
This is the way they think. They can have a world dictatorship and a world religion, the religion of Antichrist.
και μια παγκόσμια θρησκεία, τη θρησκεία του Αντιχρίστου. Μια παγκόσμια κυβέρνηση, έτσι. Όταν τα παιδιά σας
When your children will not be fed with natural food, even meat will be artificial.
ακόμα και το κρέας θα είναι τεχνητό.
Europe itself now suggests eating worms and cockroaches. Back when he was listening to World Economic Forum, the WEF. We might be laughing, but all these things have already been made into law. For our kids, this is going to be their reality. It is going to be their McDonald's. Gross. So, when man is not fed with healthy food, he does not receive the body and blood of Christ.
διατροφή. Δεν κοινωνά σώμα και αίμα Χριστού. Δεν θέλει
He does not wish for the energies of Christ and the Holy Spirit.
θα αναπτύξει
Inevitably, he will become a man full of fear, guilt, insecurity, or of reduced intelligence.
γεμάτος ενοχές, γεμάτος ανασφάλεια, μειωμένη της νοημοσύνης. Δεν θα επιθυμεί,
He won't wish to become a man of God, but will wish to live even at the expense of his children.
αλλά θα θέλει να ζήσει εις βάρος ακόμα και των παιδιών του.
Is it not so? You realize how prophetic was the words of Saint Jacobus. They won't be men, my child. They will be devil children and devil men.
Θα είναι διαβολόπαιδα και διαβολάνθρωποι. Πώς, τότε μου φάνηκε
At the time, these words seemed tough to me. Right now, I realize they were prophetic.
τι δεν θέλουν.
They do not want the physical, neither the spiritual man.
Άρα ο πόλεμος που έγινε
Thus, the war that takes place in Syria, the war that takes place in Ukraine, the war that will start in the whole Middle East soon,
σε λίγο θα ξεκινήσει σε όλη την Μέση Ανατολή και θα λάβουν μέρος και
and the Chinese will take part in this war. This is how it will turn into a world war.
παγκόσμιος πόλεμος. Είναι στην ουσία από τη μία
On one side, there's the people who want humanity to remain within physical and spiritual limits, just as the true and God created it.
να παραμείνει σε φυσικά και πνευματικά όρια όπως την έφτιαξε ο διάδικος Θεός και οι άλλοι
On the other side, it's the camp of the Antichrist. The Antichrist does not love the image of God, which is called man. That's the part I wanted to show you, which goes with the video I showed you with Alex and Dima on this AI, this transhumanism thing. He went into a long thing there, but I hope you understood why St. John was saying we need a war is because of these things mentioned. There's several mentioned there, but basically to save the next generation so that we still have people with physical, spiritually natural, not cyborgs, half human, half robot, their minds messed with, all that. This is why this war is coming. I mean, is here, but why it's come about. And it's interesting, he says that there will be artificial earthquakes. This is back in February, March of 2023 that he's talking here, but I think it was actually done, I thought it was November, December 2022, but okay, it's close enough. But that's what it said there. In any case, he's saying all this, and some of this stuff has already happened. And artificial earthquakes, you know, when we talk about weather modification that we've talked about a little bit, people manipulating the weather, and it sometimes causes floods, and we've been told that they try to bring about, cause earthquakes, and we already know earthquakes are going to be coming. especially in Greece. They said there's going to be many of those, and then the natural disasters they're supposed to be having here. Now, the artificial earthquakes could also be from when he talked about the two sides of the coast of the U.S. that are hit by weapons. That I told you he mentioned in another video, the Russian weapons, nuclear drones that are way under the water. I did a video on that if you want to go look at that. And they're way deep, like so deep in the ocean they go under, and then they're going to mess with the tectonic plates, apparently, causing earthquakes and tsunamis on the coast of the U.S. That's what he was saying about one of the saints saying that partial America will be left after this. So I just wanted to give you that information. I thought it was important to share with you on what we're seeing here, what we're talking about here, and I hope you got a lot out of it. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe and follow my YouTube channel and my Rumble channel if you like my videos. If you like them, that'd be great for the algorithms. Share my videos, it'd be great if you could do that. And yeah, leave comments if you have any. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks so much for your support. Until next time.